Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge. Should Lionel Messi be winning the Ballon d'Or next month, or is it unfair on other players? Now look, I'm a massive fan of Messi and I cannot be arsed with the debate about Messi versus Ronaldo, or the Messi or the Ronaldo fans getting into an argument here. This is about football, that's what we do on here. And I think, you know what, there's three contenders for the Ballon d'Or this year and you could make a case for all three. But the question is, I don't understand why Messi is the landslide winner unless we're doing it on sentimentality that he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And that's not what it should all be about. And people will say, well, he won the World Cup. You know, France won the World Cup in 2018 and Luka Modric won the Ballon d'Or. He played in the final, he was a runner-up, he had a very good season. The Ballon d'Or should go to the best player in the last calendar year. Is Lionel Messi the best player in the last year? And I'm sorry to say, no, he's not. He's the best player in the world. He's the biggest star in the world. Ronaldo will have something to say of that. But I wouldn't, for me to pick Messi, I know I have to do it because he's won the World Cup. It's sentimentality that he's won the World Cup. He's finally won the World Cup. And what a moment it was. The picture was iconic. I get all that. But are we now going to hand out the best player in the world tournament to a player that's just won the World Cup finally, who's won loads of other Ballon d'Ors? Is he the best player in the last 12 months for what he's done on the pitch? And honestly, you know what? I actually am going to shock people here. I'd give it to Mbappe. You know, the player that's impressed me the most in the last 12 months, if we're talking about, you know, reputation, is Mbappe. Now, PSG got knocked out of the Champions League very early, which doesn't go in Messi's favour either. But if we're talking about World Cup finals, Kylian Mbappe scored a hat-trick. France lost on penalties. France were brilliant in that World Cup. Let's look at Argentina. Messi was a massive contributing factor, and I'll take nothing away from the inspiration that Messi brought to that team to believe that they could do it. But I watched the finals. I watched the games. I mean, Martinez was probably Argentina's most important player in that World Cup when you think about the saves that he made. It was Mawani running through one-on-one, wasn't it? And what a save it was. Otherwise, France would have won the World Cup. And then are we going to say that Mbappe wins? I mean, ultimately, imagine if Mawani scores that chance. That's game over. That's right before penalties. It's a brilliant save. That gets scored by Mawani, and I guarantee everyone would be saying Mbappe wins the Ballon d'Or. So are we now saying that if you win the World Cup, that gives you the Ballon d'Or? Because that's the third option. Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland moved from Dortmund to the Premier League, and in his first season, City win their first ever treble. They win their first ever Champions League. He smashes the goal records all over the place in his debut season in the Premier League. What price do you put on that? What price do you put on that? And you'll get people going, yeah, but he didn't score in the final. He only scored one goal in the last 8 games for Man City in the Premier League last year. Oh, yeah. But I think it was a massive factor in why Man City won a treble. And why is that? What Erling Haaland can't do anymore. You know, Norway weren't in the World Cup. So we're now saying that for Erling Haaland to win the Ballon d'Or, he would have had to win the World Cup, despite winning a treble and being the #1 striker in the world. So it is really interesting. I'm here for the comments, but I'm not getting. For me, it's no way. It's not no way. I think Messi will win it. I think sentimentality will completely win the day, and I think everybody will be happy with that. But there will be people like myself who look at it and go, well, why are we doing sentimental awards? He's already won 7 of them. Why do we need to give him a sentimental 8th just because he's won the World Cup? I'm sure he's more than happy with the World Cup. I think it's going to be one of the weirdest Ballon d'Ors ever, actually, because I'm still puzzled as to why Messi is the landslide winner. If you look at the goals that Messi scored, most of them are in the French league, which you can say the same about Mbappe. You know, he certainly wasn't. It wasn't Barcelona Messi, was it? It wasn't deep into the Champions League Messi. It was win the World Cup Messi, and we're meant to go, well, that's enough to win the Ballon d'Or. It doesn't make sense. As I said, Modric won the Ballon d'Or when France won the World Cup. Winning the World Cup doesn't give you the Ballon d'Or. So effectively, we're saying, well, Messi's the greatest player that's ever played in many people's generation. Give him his 8th Ballon d'Or because he's just won the World Cup, which is, his holy grail. I don't know. Some people will go, yes, I completely agree. Give him the Ballon d'Or. But that's, for me, is why no way can Messi just win the Ballon d'Or just because he's won the World Cup. I think it has to be based on what you do across a whole season. And I'm sorry, Lionel Messi was not one of the best players in Europe last season. Just wasn't. You could argue he wasn't the best player in the World Cup either. But I think it's an interesting one. It's a debatable one. It's not, as I say, it takes a brave person to actually even mention this because, but I think thing is, who isn't a Messi fan? Like, is there anybody out there that is like, I don't like Messi. I don't like him. I mean, come on. He's an absolute goat of the game. Absolutely incredible. And I'm so pleased he won the World Cup. But does that mean I have to, drop my footballing morals at the door and say that he was the best player and deserved the Ballon d'Or? No. For me, my top three would be... I think it's close between Haaland and Mbappe. I think you've got to... here's your Man City hater. I'd probably give it... Logically, I think you've got to give it to Erling Haaland. Second, I'd probably go Mbappe. And third, I'd go Messi. That would be my logical, fair top three based on the parameters I would put in place to win that award, which would be the impact you've had on the last year and what you've done individually and for your team. And I think Erling Haaland came into that team that has had lots of money, that has had Pep Guardiola for years and has never won a Champions League. And not only did they do that, they won the treble as well. They don't do that without Erling Haaland. So this is the guy that's won the first Champions League in Man City's history and also given them a treble, which nobody has ever done in English football apart from Man United. And we're meant to say that that's not as important as a guy winning the World Cup, who is one of the greatest players in the game. You see what I mean? Like, I get the sentimental pull of what Messi's done, but we are just voting for a guy that we love who's finally won the World Cup over a guy that's actually consistently, broken records and done something for his club that nobody's ever done. As Messi did years, and many of Messi's Ballon d'Ors have been similar to what Haaland done. So I just think it's I don't think football needs to be like this. If Messi had never won a Ballon d'Or, maybe you can pull the sentimental argument, but for me it's got to be Haaland. But look, get in the comments, let me know what you think. Many people will disagree. I'm a massive fan of Messi, but I don't get the logic of it. And as I said, Messi won the World Cup. What if he'd lost the World Cup? I wouldn't even put him in the top three. Logically, he wouldn't even be in the top three. That World Cup is giving him some juice because I wouldn't even have him in the top three if he didn't win the World Cup. I don't think it was a particularly strong season for Messi last year. He won the French League. I'd win the bloody French League. But as I said, Mbappe scored a World Cup hat-trick final. He was unbelievable in that tournament, but didn't win the World Cup, so can't win the Ballon d'Or. It's an interesting one. Get your comments in below. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. We like the big debates on here. Look, if you think Messi deserves it, get in the comments. If you don't, put your comments why. There's no right or wrong. And ultimately, Messi probably will win the Ballon d'Or. I think he will. I think he absolutely will. But is there a debate to be said that it shouldn't be as straightforward? I certainly think so. Take care. I'll speak to you in a bit.